Ladies and gentlemen, welcome and good afternoon. At this time, may I remind you to please turn off the ringers of your cell phones and please remain standing for O Canada, which will be sung by Janet Bassignol in English, French, and Gaelic.
O Canada, terre de nos aïeux, ton front est ciel, des fleurs glorieux. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, durach dakri, son as leshi es mayes ye dargir, son as leshi es mayes ye dargir.
Father Andrew Gillies, the University Chaplain, will offer the prayer of invocation.
Loving God, on this joy-filled day, we lift our hearts to you. Fill St. Francis Xavier University graduates of 2015 with your blessing as they commence the rest of their lives. Fill them with confidence in how much they have grown over their time spent here on our campus. For each of us feels the significance of this important milestone. So we stand here today with gratitude in our hearts, grateful for the constant support and love of our families, for the lifelong friendships we have formed and that have formed us, for the faculty, staff, administration, and alumni who have challenged and inspired our graduates to learn, to love, and to serve. As each graduate's name is read aloud, and as each one of these unique Severians walks proudly across this stage, guide their steps toward the destination you have planned for them, together with you, forever and ever. Amen.
Please be seated. It is my pleasure to introduce some of our platform guests who will not be introduced later in the program. Please hold your applause until all have been introduced. Honorable Peter MacKay, Minister of Justice, Attorney General of Canada, and Member of Parliament for Central Nova. Honorable Randy Delory, Minister of Environment, Minister of Gaelic Affairs, and Member of Legislative Assembly for Antigonish. Dr. Mila Mulroney, Honorary Degree recipient in 2004. Band Councillor Robert Pictou, Buckinteck First Nations. Warden Russell Boucher, Municipality of the County of Antigonish. Councillor Sean Cameron, Town of Antigonish. Mr. Andrew Beckett, Vice President, Finance and Administration. Mr. Timothy Lang, Vice President, Advancement. Ms. Tara Buxadis, University Registrar. Mr. Bob Hale, Interim Head, Student Services, Director, Student Life. Mr. Gord Cunningham, Interim Director, Coady International Institute, and Vice President, International Development. Dr. Richard Eisner, Associate Vice President, Research and Graduate Studies. Dr. Janice Landry, Interim Dean of Education. At this time, please recognize the faculty and administrative staff who have all played a role in the graduates' success, which we celebrate today. Would the faculty and staff please stand and be acknowledged? The President of the University, Dr. Kent MacDonald. May it please you, sir, to open this convocation.
Good afternoon, graduates. What a wonderful day this is. In fact, it's a day we thought might never come, a day in Antigonish in 2015 when it appears it will not snow today. So that's good. On behalf of our Board of Governors, let me first begin by extending a very warm welcome, StFX welcome to our honored guests, parents, family, returning alumni, and our very regal-looking stage party. Thank you for celebrating with us this afternoon. Graduates, for me, it's been fascinating to hear so many of you or your parents tell stories about our faculty and staff, going beyond the call of duty in order to help you in your journey this afternoon. So this afternoon, I want to thank the faculty and our staff for their commitment to academic excellence, to student success, and their commitment to StFX University. A sincere thank you to all of them. And with those introductory comments, I welcome you to the spring convocation ceremony this afternoon. And now it's most important to recognize the most important people this afternoon, the graduating class of 2015. Now, what's interesting about this particular class is that StFX University is a national university. Today, we have graduates from every province and every territory in this great country of ours. Graduates, we are here for one reason, it's to recognize your success. But it's fair to say that you do not make it here all on your own. There are parents and grandparents, sisters and brothers, husbands and wives, friends and family who have helped you make this time at StFX possible. I believe some of you may even call them your personal private bankers. So graduates, I do think it's appropriate to take a moment to look around this beautiful hall and recognize and acknowledge your supporters, those people in the audience today who helped you through your journey here at StFX. And so before I begin to go too much further, I do want to recognize a group of people who have come many miles to be here today, our international students. You could have chosen anywhere in the world to attend university, and you chose Canada. You could have chosen anywhere in Canada to study, and you chose StFX. And for this, we thank you. It's important for me to tell you that we learned as much from you as you did from us. Your presence on this campus made our lives more exciting, made our learning more rich. You being at StFX helped all of us prepare for a world that has become much more flat and more well-connected than ever before. Your time at StFX helped us overcome our distance from, our strangeness from one another. We learned to recognize that people and ideas that at first seem foreign are in fact very similar to ours. It has been a joy to have you with us here at StFX. Please tell your friends and family about this university and remember Canada fondly. And know that you're welcome to return to your alma mater, your second home, at any time. We know it's not We know that it's not a simple journey to complete a university education. We know that there are graduates here today who have lost loved ones during their time with us. There are graduates here today who have had to overcome financial hardship to be with us, or overachieving and getting over some of life's personal challenges. And yet you persevered. You endured, and that is life. There are many examples of this perseverance, but this afternoon I want to take a moment to highlight just one. I want to bring you back to December 3rd. It was the Feast of St. Francis Xavier, or commonly known around these parts as X-Ring Day. But going back to that Wednesday afternoon in December, we were missing one student who was undergoing medical treatment and could not be with us, if you remember. But having missed X-Ring ceremony, he told us there was no way that he was prepared to miss this ceremony. And I know that he would prefer to sit quietly in the audience here today. However, I just wanted to say how nice it is that he and his family chose to attend this ceremony. He'll be graduating in the fall due to his medical treatment that is now under control. But I want to say to Jesse Crowley, it's nice to see you, Jesse, here today. Today is a celebration that we honor all of our students' persistence, but also to simply honor your presence on our campus. You showed us that it was possible to address issues of importance with civility, respect, and an open mind. You amazed your professors, and it has been a privilege to watch your journey here at StFX. Let me say this, that the class of 2015, you are an impressive lot. But with all there is to celebrate, we must remember that this is a new day. The word convocation actually means to come together. It allows us an opportunity to look into the future and look at what might be on the horizon, and it affords me the opportunity to share some final parting words to our graduating class. I think a lot about what a university should be in 2015. In fact, it's the one thing that keeps me up at night. This is a complex question. But at the highest level, I remain convinced, in the words of Benjamin Franklin, that he had it right in 1740 when he said, "The great aim and end of all education is instilling in students an inclination joined with the ability to serve mankind, one's country, friends, and family." That's exactly the sentiment that many universities established, and it was the one that was our sentiment when we were established over 160 years ago. But this afternoon, I do want to say that something, in my view, is changing in society. In the late 1960s, 80% of young people told us that developing a meaningful philosophy of life was an important goal. By the late 1990s, that number had dropped in half. In the late 1960s, less than half of these people indicated that they were attending school in order to earn more or to get rich. By the late 1990s, that number increased to more than 3/4. Over a short period of time, the perception of the purpose of higher education in some minds shifted from being largely a public good, something that benefits all of society, to a private good, an investment that people make to improve their own economic condition. We've also seen over this time an increased level of political disaffection. In the late 60s, the percentage of young men and women who indicated that it was important to them to keep up to date with national and international political affairs went from 60% to less than 25% just a few decades later. This is not good news for a democracy, for society. As I told our young alumni circle yesterday, This is a time that we need to rethink and re-engage in society. That became evident to me just a couple of days ago when I was to meet a group of presidents, vice presidents, who are interested in research related to higher education in the global economy. Unfortunately, one of my colleagues did not make it to that meeting. He didn't make it because as he looked out of his university window in Maryland, all he could see was a burned-out building in his beloved Baltimore. The issues that we face in society today are deep and they're complex. And yet, with all of these challenges, let me be clear, I am more optimistic than ever before. This is an absolute fantastic time for you to be graduating from university. There are more opportunities today than ever before in our history. And even better news than this, I can say that you chose well. You chose StFX. And I passionately believe that our professors have prepared you well for these challenges today. StFX has over 160 years of evidence that it graduates students who demonstrate an enthusiasm for intellectual curiosity, that we prepare students who can think critically about thorny issues of the day, and we prepare graduates who care as much about social justice as they do about their earning power. Graduates at StFX have been taught in your short time here to read and be able to unpack that information, to analyze it and think laterally, and then formulate your own new ideas and solution. And I can tell you that is exactly what the world needs today. So at Convocation, I try to leave our graduates with just one message. And so as I walked the halls, this beautiful hall yesterday, I thought about what that single message might be. What struck me as I looked around this hall was the large crest and motto hanging on the wall over my right shoulder. You have seen these words in our motto at many times your time at StFX. And in fact, many of you heard them referenced several times last night at the Xaverian farewell. Que cumque sunt vera, whatsoever things are true. It has been 100 years since President McPherson used the motto for the first time. Yes, for all of you who lived in McPherson residence, it's the same McPherson. Our motto comes from the letter of Paul to the Philippians, but I tend to understand it when I look at the whole verse. Que cumque sunt vera, whatsoever things are true, and it continues. Whatsoever things are noble, whatsoever things are good and pure, worthy of praise. These are not simply words to admire when you're at StFX, but as a StFX graduate, we hope that they will guide you in your journey ahead. Inspired by our motto, I felt that it would be important to leave you with one last piece of homework, a final assignment, if you will. But this homework is fairly simple, and the good news is that you get to evaluate it yourself. Graduates, as you sit here today, waiting for your name to be called in the quietness of the moment, I would ask you to think deeply about the reason you came to StFX. For what purpose do you give years of your life? With all that you have sacrificed and your family has sacrificed, what is it that you will do now that you've earned this extraordinary gift of a StFX degree? I recommend that you be inspired by our motto. I recommend that you leave here today and think more critically about what you as an individual can do to make this world a better place. I recommend that you give some of your time when you leave today to a church or a synagogue or a mosque or a temple or a community center. Give more of your time to volunteer at a local school or a service club, to help a child, to do what so many of you did while you were here at StFX, and that is raise money for a worthy cause. Commit today to make the world a better place. This I know to be true. Your professors have prepared you well. You are now ready to become a beautiful and important part of the imperfect and unfinished story of humankind. And on this day, May 3rd, 2015, it is a good day to remember our motto, Quae cumque sunt vera. Whatsoever things are true, noble, good, and pure. I wish you luck on your next assignment, and the good news is you have the rest of your life to complete it. Thank you and congratulations.
The Academic Vice President and Provost of the University, Dr. Leslie McLaren, will present to Convocation the recipients of university medals for outstanding academic achievement.
A warm welcome to you all, and thank you for coming to celebrate with the graduands this afternoon. It means a lot to all of us. Dr. MacDonald, I ask you to present university medals, symbolic of outstanding academic achievement, to the members of the graduating class as follows. First, the university silver medals are awarded to the students with the highest average in the final 3 years of an honors, advanced major, or major degree program. For the Bachelor of Arts, the award goes to Jeffrey Ernest Fauché of Antigonish, Nova Scotia. For the Bachelor of Music or Bachelor of Arts in Music, to Ronald Alexander Lank from New Glasgow, Nova Scotia. The University Gold Medal is awarded to the student with the highest average in the final 3 years of an honors program in the Faculty of Arts. And this year that goes to Jeffrey Ernest Fauché of Antigonish. There are 2 medals awarded to students in the Gerald Schwartz School of Business. These are awarded to the students with the highest average in the final 3 years of their bachelor's program. The silver medal for the Bachelor of Information Systems goes to Xiao Qing Zhuang, Changzhou, China. The Onex Corporation Gold Medal for the student with the highest grades in the Bachelor of Business Administration goes to Zachary Bryson Conings from Ridgeway, Ontario. That concludes the medalist awards. Dr. MacDonald.
The Academic Vice President and Provost of the University, Dr. Leslie McLaren, will present to Convocation Wafic Saïd, upon whom the degree Doctor of Laws honoris causa will be conferred.
Most Reverend Chancellor, I have the pleasure to present to Convocation Wafic Rida Saïd. Mr. Wafic Saïd is a Canadian citizen who was born and raised in Damascus, Syria. His father, Dr. Rida Saïd, was an eye surgeon who founded Syria's first university in 1923 and served as Minister of Education in the 1920s and 30s. From this early influence and through his life experiences, Wafic Saïd has grown to appreciate the power of education to change lives, build countries, and bring about social change. Wafic and Rosemary Saïd have been married for 46 years, and they have 2 children and 4 grandchildren. The Saïds are well known around the world for their remarkable, generous, and thoughtful philanthropic leadership and endeavors. Mr. Saïd started as a businessman and entrepreneur, and over the years has become a philanthropist. He began his career as a banker in Geneva and later started a company involved in construction projects in Saudi Arabia. There, his companies helped that country prepare for the 21st century. Mr. Saïd and his wife Rosemary created the Saïd Foundation, a non-sectarian and non-political charity that works with youth in need and talented young people in Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, and Palestine. As chair of the foundation, Mr. Saïd has influenced and impacted the lives of countless young people. He has given them hope and the financial ability to obtain an education, along with the knowledge and confidence to succeed in life and make a contribution to society. The Foundation's scholarship program has been running for over 30 years, and alumni have gone on to successful careers and have made a real difference in the lives of others. Most recently, Mr. Saïd has created a new scholarship program for Syrian refugees in Jordan and Lebanon. Through philanthropic donations to the UN refugee agency, UNHCR, he is helping numerous students from the Middle East access an education they could not otherwise afford. Mr. Saïd is also the benefactor and founding trustee of the Saïd Business School Foundation, formed to build Oxford University's business school and to support its pursuit of excellence. The Saïd Business School, established in 1996, is now among the leading business schools in the world, next to the Schwartz School, of course. Mr. Saïd supports many other causes through the foundation, including health research. For example, he has provided substantial funding for the establishment of the Wafic Saïd Molecular Cardiology and Gene Therapy Research Laboratory at the Texas Heart Institute in Houston, Texas. Throughout this time, Mr. Saïd also maintained a robust business career. His business interests have ranged from construction companies to aerospace to his own investment business. His many contributions have not gone unnoticed. Mr. Saïd was the inaugural recipient of the Sheldon Medal in 2003, newly created by Oxford University to honor exceptional supporters of the university. He also received an honorary doctorate from Damascus University for his generous support of higher education in Syria. Nominated in 1996 by the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, he serves as their ambassador and permanent delegate to UNESCO. In 2012, that same government named Mr. Saïd their ambassador to the Holy See. For this Muslim man to serve as ambassador to the Holy See, which is the office of the Pope, the Bishop of Rome, has been a gratifying experience for him. It is one example of Mr. Saïd's deep personal belief in the importance of a pluralistic and respectful world, one in which all religions can honor the other. Most Reverend Chancellor, for this true world leader, champion of education, and shining example of tolerance and respect for world religions, I present to you Wafic Rida Saïd for the degree Doctor of Laws, honoris causa. And Dr. Saïd will now address Convocation.
Most Reverend Chancellor, President MacDonald, Right Honorable Brian Mulroney, distinguished guests, members of the faculty, fellow graduates, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I feel very privileged to have received this honorary degree and to be standing in this great institution in front of you, an institution which has produced many distinguished alumni, including one of the greatest and most successful Prime Minister of our time, the Right Honorable Brian Mulroney. I am very honored to have received this in his presence. Looking around this wonderful hall, I see excited faces of young graduates about to embark in a new life. As you leave this university with your well-earned degrees, this is a good time for you to reflect on the value of a university education. And I want to start with a quotation from a speech made in 1926 in Syria, my country of origin, by its Minister of Education. He said, and I quote, "Universities are a good measure for evaluating a nation's progress and its rise on the ladder of civilization. Countries where universities have been built are countries that have advanced rapidly and where young people contribute to their nation's development and earn their place in society. Where you see prestigious universities and a strong demand for them, you feel that the spirit of life is there." The minister was my father, speaking at the opening ceremony of Syria's first university, which he founded in 1926. I believe that what he said was as true today as it was then, and it is, of course, true for individuals as well as for nations. Higher education is all about hope. Higher education gives young people the knowledge and confidence they need to progress in life and make contribution to society. It allows those with a disadvantaged background to overrule them. It provides the skill that countries need to increase their prosperity. It produces research that helps societies make progress in solving the problem we all face. It is, and I hope you will be, a force for change and a force for good. That is why I created the business school at Oxford University and why my foundation, the Saïd Foundation, focuses on higher education, providing scholarships to top students from various parts of the Middle East so they can study for their masters and PhDs in Britain. I have been privileged to witness how these scholarships gives young people the opportunity to flourish and make a huge difference in their lives and to their communities. When the students arrive from various parts of the Middle East to Oxford, Cambridge, or Bristol, for example, many of them have very limited experience of life beyond their small communities. Despite the huge hurdles that they have already overrun to obtain a university education and win their scholarship, they are often shy, hesitant, and lacking in confidence. But later when they leave with their qualification, they are completely changed. Not only are they equipped with new academic credentials, they are also more confident, better communicators with new skills such as leadership and teamwork. They have gained an understanding of other cultures, made friends from other countries and backgrounds, and have contributed to the local communities at their university. Where possible, they have then gone back home to their own countries to become eminent professors, doctors, engineers, leaders in their field. I am very proud of them all. I had to leave Syria for political reasons when I was 18 years old. And so my education did not follow the path I planned. I regret, for example, never having had the opportunity when I was a young graduate to study for an MBA. I couldn't afford it at the time. And even now, with 50 years of working experience, I'm conscious that this means that I do not have the same skills, knowledge, and abilities as my own son, for example. I hope he's not listening to me. Your time at university has given you the chance to acquire knowledge. Some of it will be useful to you in all your life. But let's face it, some of it will not. But there is something more important than the knowledge, which you acquire at university, and that is the ability to think. Yes, the ability to think independently, to think originally, and to think creatively. That is the greatest gift a university education can give you. Thinking for yourselves is what takes individuals, companies, institutions, governments, and ultimately nation to the next level. This is an exciting and challenging time to be starting your careers or going to postgraduate studies. Let me take this opportunity to wish you every success for the future. I hope you will make the most of all the hard work which you put in reaching university and then graduating. I hope you'll go out into the world, brimful of ideas. Don't be slave to conventional wisdom. I hope you will do what you enjoy doing and continue to learn every day of your lives. I hope you be kind and generous. There are many people in this world who need our help. I hope you will have luck on your side. Yes, luck on your side. Don't expect it to come to you freely. You have to be there, ready to grab it with both hands. Finally, I hope you'll be determined, ambitious, and positive. Everything is possible if you put your mind to it. As graduate of St. Francis Xavier, you have had a brilliant start. You are equipped for life. And you too are capable of making a difference. So go for it. Thank you.
Now it is my pleasure to call upon Dr. Kent MacDonald.
Good afternoon again. I have the great honor to introduce the Right Honorable Brian Mulroney. Faculty, staff, parents, and graduates, it's my honor to introduce the speaker for the Convocation address. And Brian Mulroney left this campus as a StFX graduate in 1959, determined to make his way in the world, and did he ever. After law school, as a prominent young partner with Canada's largest law firm, he was a royal commissioner charged with cleaning up crime and corruption in the Quebec construction industry. He became president and CEO of one of Canada's largest mining companies, leading it back to significant profitability after a long period of decline. After winning the leadership of his party, Mr. Mulroney was first elected in this riding, Central Nova, in 1983, riding held by the Honorable Elmer MacKay, now currently held by the Honorable Peter MacKay, our Minister of Justice and Attorney General, who is with us here today. After winning the leadership of the party, he went on to win the largest victory in Canadian history, becoming Canada's 18th Prime Minister. And as I was telling my wife, Mary Ellen, we have a lot in common. I happen to be the 18th president of StFX. So. Prime Minister Mulroney was re-elected with a second majority government, becoming the first Canadian Prime Minister since Louis Saint Laurent to win back-to-back majority governments and the first Conservative Prime Minister to do it in 100 years. History would show us what a leader he was. He did not shy away from tough decisions, but was guided by his principle that he would do whatever was best for Canada. He took bold initiatives that continue to have an impact on the economy and the world today. Let me just list a few. The Canadian-U.S. Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, the Canada-U.S. Acid Rain Treaty, a series of privatizations and a low inflation policy, extensive deregulation, and expenditure reductions that make Canada more efficient. A historic tax reform that, controversial at the time, has proven to be, along with free trade, the basis of Canada's impressive economic performance today. Prime Minister Mulroney was the first world leader to help Ethiopia in its fight against famine. He was singled out by the German Chancellor Helmut Kohl in his famous speech at the Bundestag as having played, along with Presidents Bush and Gorbachev, an historic role in bringing about German reunification. He persuaded world leaders like Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher to support sanctions and ultimately ended apartheid and the release of Nelson Mandela. He warned them to be on the right side of history. Nelson Mandela himself credited StFX's own Brian Mulroney as the leader of the Western world who helped end apartheid. Mr. Mulroney has been awarded Canada's highest honor, the Companion of the Order of Canada. He's received honorary degrees and awards from universities and governments and at home and abroad, including just weeks ago, being awarded South Africa's highest honor, recognition for his contributions to the South African liberation movement with the National Order. And I will say that he had a choice to be there today or here, and we thank him for joining us at his alma mater. McGill University's North American Studies Institute determined that Mr. Mulroney had the best economic record of any prime minister since World War II. The Institute for Ranking on Public Policy placed Mr. Mulroney second in a ranking of the best prime ministers in the previous 50 years, and a panel of Canada's leading environmental groups determined that Mr. Mulroney was the greenest prime minister in our history. Mr. Mulroney's biography, Memoirs, became Canada's #1 national bestseller and was described by the Ottawa Citizen as the finest and most comprehensive memoir of any Prime Minister in Canadian history. A survey conducted by the Hill Times selected Mr. Mulroney as the most admired former Prime Minister of Canada. And yet, with all of these great successes, many Canadians would tell you that Brian's greatest accomplishment was in persuading Mila to marry him. And together they raised 4 beautiful children, 3 boys and a daughter. We're extremely pleased to have Caroline with us here today. We are honored to have one of our greatest sons back on our campus. Faculty, staff, students, and graduates, I introduce the Right Honourable Brian Mulroney.
Reverend Chancellor, Mr. President, Dr. Saïd, ladies and gentlemen. As I listened to the President talk about what occurred when in politics, it also occurred to me that strange things can happen when you leave office, apart from the gratitude. My first trip after resigning was to Orlando, Florida, for a board of directors meeting. I got caught in a big snowstorm leaving Montreal, and we wound up diverted on Northwest Airlines to Detroit. And when I got off the plane in Detroit, I walked out, and there was a woman from Special Services who said to me, "Prime Minister Mulroney, go right over there, get onto that electric cart, which is there, and it'll take you to the far end of the airport and you'll make a connecting flight to Orlando." I said, "Thank you very much." I head out to the cart, and just as I'm about to get to the cart, which was being guarded by a guy 18 years old, 6'5", 250 pounds, just as I'm about to get there, a woman who was behind me in the line charges ahead of me and says to him, "I have to have that cart right now." And he says, "You cannot have that cart." She said, "Why not?" He said, "This cart is reserved for the former dictator from Canada." Ah, how quickly they forget. The present Prime Minister of Canada, Stephen Harper, used to work for me years ago. And when he was elected Prime Minister, he called me and said, "You know, do you have any advice for me as a new Prime Minister?" And I said, "Well, Stephen, what Canadian Prime Ministers really have to learn is humility. I didn't, but the others do." And I said, by way of illustration, you got to learn this. Years ago, when John Diefenbaker was elected Prime Minister, 1957, he came down to Montreal to the Ritz Hotel, the Ritz being my favorite hotel in the world. He comes down to Montreal and to speak to la Chambre du Commerce du Montréal Métropolitain, which is a big deal in Canada for the first new Prime Minister. And so Diefenbaker is there on a dais like this. And as he's sitting there talking to the chairman of the Chambre de Commerce, there was an old waiter by the name of Louis Latulippe in the Ritz, who used to go by with his pincette, holding little pieces of butter, and he put them down. So he comes over to Mr. Diefenbaker, and he takes his pincette and he puts down a piece of butter. And Mr. Diefenbaker, who was talking, turns around and said, "I'm sorry, I'd like another piece of butter, please." The waiter said, "I'm sorry, sir. It's one piece of butter per person." The Diefenbaker said, "Do you know who I am?" And the waiter says, "No." He said, "I'm the Right Honorable John Diefenbaker, and I want another piece of butter." The waiter says to Diefenbaker, "Do you know who I am?" Diefenbaker says, "No. I'm the guy who gives out the butter." Well, you know, with all of this, I'll get about a month ago, I guess, I was in Montreal at a hockey game. And during the periods, all kinds of people come to see you and get autographs and pictures and what have you. And I was there with a couple of students from StFX. And during the second period, while this thing was going on, lots of people circulating around and asking questions and what have you, getting pictures. Javier says to me, "Well, Brian, does this happen?" I said, "Yeah, it happens all the time." "Geez," he said, "have you ever given any thought to a comeback? Making a comeback?" I said, "Javier, let me tell you about comebacks. I was watching television one day when one of my successors was there on TV in Jerusalem giving a press conference. And he was asked the question, what is your solution for the Palestinian-Israeli crisis? And he said, look, don't bother asking me that. I don't even know whether I'm in North, South, East, or West Jerusalem. So I'm looking at this, and I said, with Mila, and I said, looking at the TV, geez, this guy's so bad. I'm going to get myself elected leader of the party again and become prime minister. And there was total silence. So I turned to Mila and I said, did you hear what I said, dear? And she said, yes, I did. And I said, well, what do you think? She said, I think it's a wonderful idea. And I know your new wife is really going to love the experience. But for many years, Mila and Céline Dion headed up the cystic fibrosis research. They raised tens and tens of millions of dollars for cystic fibrosis research in Canada. And I was delegated many times to be the guest speaker at these fundraisers. And one day, Michael O'Shea and I, who's sitting right there, O'Shea and I get on the elevator on the 50th floor at the Harbour Castle in Toronto, and we're heading down, and there was one woman there, Michael and me and one woman. As we pushed the button to go down, she looks at me, and she said, pardon me, sir. I said, can I ask you a question? I said, sure. I said, did anybody ever tell you that you look an awful lot like Brian Mulroney? And I said, well, yeah, sure. It happens to me almost every other day. And she said, gee, must make you mad, eh? Well, I better move on or we'll be here all afternoon. Well, I'm honored to be with you. And I'd like to tell you today that when I was young in Baie-Comeau, I had a conversation with my father late on a Sunday night when he returned from the paper mill, where he worked as an electrician. He also held down a second job on his days and evenings off, wiring homes and repairing oil burners. And while he did that, my mother, apart from raising 6 young kids in a tiny mill house, took in boarders to try and make ends meet. Times were not easy, and I told my father that night of a new apprenticeship program being launched at the mill, where children of employees could train as tradesmen, plumbers, mechanics, electricians, and the like, while being paid a good wage and then have guaranteed future employment with the company. My father's reply is engraved in my memory. "I know, Brian," he said, "that times are tough, and we could sure use the extra money that you would bring in. But I've learned one thing. The only way out of a paper mill town is through a university door, and you are going to university." And that's how I wound up at StFX. And that's why I made certain that every year StFX is able to award a number of major scholarships to needy and worthy students, the Benedict Martin Mulroney Scholarships, in memory of a man whose life and sacrifice made possible to me what happened to me in all the years since. My story is not unique. It has happened many times over, no doubt to many of the fathers and mothers who are with us here today. And so, let me invite you all, beginning with the graduates, to rise and join me in a standing ovation of gratitude and respect for all the parents and the supportive family members here today who are the real heroes of this magnificent convocation. When I graduated from StFX, our convocation speaker that day, the great journalist Grattan O'Leary, reminded us that a good education was not principally to provide us with a standard of living, but rather a standard of life. When I left this campus with my friends that day to head to the big city with the bright lights to conquer the world, or so we all hoped, I had no money, no influence, and no connections. But I had two things of far greater worth. I had a degree from StFX and the values that had been inculcated into us by a superb faculty and university leaders here in Antigonish. In the Bible, the prophet says that young men have visions and old men dream dreams. I can remember those days of my youth. I can remember feeling as happy and curious and excited and ambitious as all of you graduates feel today. And over the years, I can remember the accomplishments and the setbacks. I can recall the splendor of the view from the highest mountaintop and the sorrow one feels in the valley of defeat. Life is an unending sequence of challenges from which no one emerges unscathed. Defeat is not something to fear, but surrender is something to reject. Never once in a tumultuous life of ups and downs in business and politics and law, never once did it ever occur to me to quit, because I learned on this campus that failure was not an option. I learned as well here the true meaning of the words of President Truman when he said, "There are no great men. There are only ordinary men who rise to meet great challenges." And so, as I look out at this impressive graduating class today, I see hope for our future in this explosive and dangerous world. And I see inspiration for our citizens from Monterey to Montreal, from Moncton to Madrid. The torch truly has been passed. You, the graduates, are our new generation of leaders. And I salute you and congratulate you on your great achievement, this golden afternoon of an unforgettable day in lives filled with such promise and excitement. I have learned that achievement occurs when challenge meets leadership. Some years ago, the legendary New York Times columnist, Scotty Reston, came to have lunch with me at 24 Sussex, the Prime Minister's official residence in Ottawa. After an impressive tour d'horizon, Mr. Reston said, "You know, Prime Minister, For the last 25 years, I have opposed every single policy that your friend Ronald Reagan has ever stood for. And then he added, and during that same period, Ronald Reagan was twice elected governor of California and twice elected president of the United States. This self-deprecatory observation I thought memorable because of its infrequency in the New York Times, was delivered somewhat ruefully, as if Mr. Reston were perplexed by his own admission. But to so wise an observer as Reston, the answer surely should have been very clear. It's called leadership, that ineffable and sometimes magical quality that sets some men and women apart so that millions will follow them as they conjure up new visions and invite their countrymen to dream big and exciting dreams. In his seminal work on leadership, James McGregor Burns segregates transactional from transforming leadership. He writes that it is the transforming leader who raises the level of human conduct of both leader and led, who responds to fundamental hopes and expectations, and who may transcend and even seek to reconstruct the political system rather than simply operate within it. You know that many suggest that great inexorable currents of history themselves, and not individual leaders, seal our fate. In my judgment, however, Carlyle was on target when he observed that the right man or the right woman in the right place at the right time can change the course of history. And I believe that to be true, because as I sat with President Reagan and Nelson Mandela and Mikhail Gorbachev and Helmut Kohl and François Mitterrand and George Bush, as I sat with them, I saw it happen. In a brilliant address delivered some years ago in Toronto, Ted Sorensen, himself a skilled observer of powerful leaders as special counsel to President Kennedy, said, "Once in office, those who wish to stand up and stand out and leave something enduring behind must build new institutions, not just new images. They must look to the next generation and not merely the next election. They must talk in terms of fundamental values and not merely costs. They must appeal to our hopes as well as our needs, to what we long to be and to what we know is right. That," he said, "is leadership." Well, time is the ally of leaders who place the defense of principle ahead of the pursuit of popularity. And history has little time for the marginal roles played by the carpers and complainers, and less for their opinions. History tends to focus on the builders, the deciders, the leaders. In education, healthcare, science, business, the arts, as well as politics, because they are the men and women whose contributions have shaped the destiny of their nations. These leaders are here today. The fathers and mothers who have raised children, built businesses, and contributed to society in a million uncelebrated ways. And tomorrow's leaders, the graduates, are here as well, and they will soon be shaping the agendas that will guide our lives for decades to come. Theodore Roosevelt had courageous leaders in mind when he spoke at La Sorbonne many years ago and said, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and blood and sweat, who spends himself in a worthy cause, and who, at the best, knows in the end the triumphs of high achievement, and who, at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who have known neither victory nor defeat." As a contemporary observer noted some years ago, in a nation ruled by polls and ratings, where even newspapers hire focus groups to see what kind of news readers want, we are losing sight of something that we should have learned as teenagers. Just because something is popular doesn't mean it's right. Thomas D'Arcy McGee, one of the founding fathers of Canada, an immigrant from Ireland, just before his assassination spoke, and he said, "He who builds upon popularity builds upon a shifting sand." In fact, transforming leadership in your lives or in mine, in politics, in business, in education, in healthcare, transforming leadership is leadership that makes a significant difference in the life of a nation, but it also recognizes that political capital is acquired not to be hoarded and enjoyed, but to be spent in great causes for one's country. Presidents and prime ministers are not chosen to seek popularity. They are chosen to provide leadership. There are times when the voters must be told not what they want to hear, but what they have to know. And what they have to know is a quotation from the book of Proverbs inscribed on the Peace Tower in Ottawa, which says, over the Parliament buildings, "Where there is no vision, the people perish." Leaders must have vision, and they must find the courage to fight for the policies that will give that vision life. Leaders must govern not for easy headlines in 10 days, but for better countries in 10 years. And they must be ready to endure the attacks that often accompany profound or controversial change, while they await the distant and compelling sounds of a verdict that only history and a more reflective nation can render in the fullness of time. And so for the graduates in particular, if ever you search for a lodestar to guide you through the gently unfolding decades of your lives, you may wish to consider a few lines from Mr. Justice Learned Hand. As Bob can tell you, a great lawyer from New York who's here, that Learned Hand was the greatest American jurist from the New York State Court of Appeals, who was never appointed to the Supreme Court of the United States. Many years ago, Justice Hand was invited to welcome immigrants to America. Catholics, Protestants, Muslims, and Jews, mostly poor and unlettered people from Central and Eastern Europe and the Middle East. He defined for them that day on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, at a citizenship ceremony, the spirit of liberty that he hoped they would find in the life of their new country. His words have universal reach, and they apply to us all, from Madagascar to Madrid and elsewhere around the world. He said, in defining this spirit of liberty, that the spirit of liberty is the spirit that is not too sure that it is right. The spirit of liberty seeks to understand the minds of other men and other women. The spirit of liberty weighs their interests alongside its own without bias. The spirit of liberty knows that not even a sparrow falls to earth unheeded. And the spirit of liberty is the spirit of him who near 2,000 years ago taught mankind a lesson that it has never quite learned, but never quite forgotten, that there may be a kingdom where the least shall be heard and considered side by side with the greatest. If you graduates can incorporate into your lives some of the humility and the generosity and the wisdom contained in those words from Mr. Justice Learned Hand, it will be said of you one day that you have brought honor to your country, pride to your family, and achievement to your life. No one can ask you for more. I thank you, and may God bless you all.
All the candidates listed in the program are receiving those degrees or diplomas ascribed to them. Some, however, cannot be present for this convocation. They will receive their degrees in absentia. Members of the audience are asked to refrain from applause until after each group of candidates is presented. Dr. Richard Nemesveri, Dean of Arts, will present to the Chancellor candidates for degrees in arts and music and diplomas in jazz studies.
Most Reverend Chancellor, for the degree Bachelor of Arts with Major, I present to you Samisola Gabrielle Andoretti, Brampton, Ontario. Maximilian Ronald Archibald, Halifax. Ashley Noel Arnold, Halifax. Haley Mary Beth Arsenault, Summerside, Prince Edward Island. Alexander A. Arthur, Markham, Ontario. Tatiana Victoria Atkins, Nassau, Bahamas. Hillary Dawn Beaton, Antigonish. Mariah Anna Bellier, Darlings Island, New Brunswick. Michael Campbell David Benson, Quispamsis, New Brunswick. Kaylee Alyssa Bent, Chester. Jonathan Tyler Bicknell, Barrie, Ontario, winner of the Ambassador of Switzerland Book Prize for French. Michelle Blasey, Ennismore, Ontario. Justin Daniel Boudreau, Brookside. Andrew Michael Bowles, Kingston, Ontario. Kelsey Mary Bowman, Monastery. Lauren Taylor Boyle, Antigonish. Alexa Jean Bradshaw, North Vancouver, British Columbia. Matthew Scott Bridgley, Waverley. James Richard Brown, Fort Smith, Northwest Territories. Thomas Edward Brown, St. John, New Brunswick. Spencer Alexander Butler, Petrolia, Ontario. Natalie Elizabeth Chivari, Amherst. Taylor Jordan Clark, Hilden. Sarah Jean Colpitz, Cole Harbour. Amy Ellen Cormier, Moncton, New Brunswick. Blake McAllister Creamer, Rothsay, New Brunswick. Jillian Ann Dahlgren, St. John, New Brunswick. Jamie Alves de Silveira, Teixeira de Freitas, Brazil. Allison Marie David, Ottawa, Ontario. Brenton Gary DeYoung, Guysborough. Matthew Stephen Dollander, Mississauga, Ontario. Ashton James Dixon, Ottawa, Ontario. Andrew Carl Norman Downey, Moncton, New Brunswick. Joanna Catherine Duggan, Antigonish. Charlton Lee Mann Elliott, Pickering, Ontario. Tristan Bond Evans, Calgary, Alberta. Cody Brendan Farrell, Middle Sackville. Lindsay Erin Ferguson, Strathroy, Ontario. Lauren Nicole Ferris, Bath, Ontario. Brian Fitzgerald, Labrador City, Newfoundland and Labrador. Matthew Attila Fletcher, Kingston, Ontario, winner of the Dr. Paul V. Groark Book Prize. Brenna Joy Gavel, Bridgetown. Michael George Patrick Gelano, Ottawa, Ontario. Jeremy Daniel Graham, Kingsport. Lauren Christine Grant, Antigonish. Yana Carol Lynn Angela Green, Riverview, New Brunswick. Madeline Florence Green, Dartmouth. Benjamin, René France, Gongdor. See you, Benjamin. Brandon Alexander Hamilton, Upper Kentercook. Lucas Nathan Hayes, Amherst. Olivia Ann Ibert, Brookfield. Mia Annie Wiesman, Ponoco, Alberta. Caitlin Michelle Hislop, Amherst. Stefan Robert Jelson, Antigonish. Fedor Alexander Jemkov, Lebanon, New Hampshire. Mariah May Johnson, Wallace. Emma Catherine Johnson, Truro. Evan Lewis Jones, Toronto, Ontario. Robert Scott Lacroix, Trenton. Christina Marie Legere, Stellarton. Daniel John Lewis, Corner Brook, Newfoundland and Labrador. Margaret D. Litton, Burlington, Ontario. Alexander David McAdam, Halifax. Hilary Jean McDonald, Summerside, Prince Edward Island. Kayla Eldora McDonald, Stellarton. Ailey Flora McDougall, Halifax. Taylor Ray McIntyre, Port Hood. Christina May Mackenzie, Onslow Mountain. Jessica Rose Nicole McKinnon, Ingonish. Melissa Ann Margaret McKinnon, Sydney. Carmeline Ann McLean, Washabuck Center. Lyndon James McClellan, Stellarton. Emily Teresa Rita McMillan, Miramichi, New Brunswick. Katie Mackenzie Mayone, Ottawa, Ontario. Samantha Tambry Mary Mason, Hancock, Maine. Not sure what happened there. Jessica. Makia Colette Mason, Nassau, Bahamas. Jessica? Mix up. Jessica Jean McCutcheon, Toronto, Ontario. Scott Ambrose McDonald, Ottawa, Ontario. Morgan Anastasia McGrath, Antigonish. Bria Mary Florence McKinnon, Bible Hill. Skylar Kelsey McLean, New Glasgow. Kelly Ann McMullen, Halifax. Samantha Pearl McNamara, St. Peters. Erica Dawn Mendez, Halifax. Maris Reynolds Miller, St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. Heather Jean Mills, Truro. Mackenzie Maurice Monroe, Yarmouth. Megan Monroe, Whitehead. Catherine Jean Murphy, Antigonish. Lauren Mary Nevin, Iqaluit. Graham James Christopher Noda McLean, Waterloo, Ontario. Graham Mark Warren O'Neill, Inverie, Ontario. Angela Nicole Palmer, Montague, Prince Edward Island. Eric Arthur Pellichin, Toronto, Ontario. Chantel Marissa Pepin, Oakville, Ontario. Americo John Angelo Pino, Badek. Noel Egan Pritchard, Ottawa, Ontario. Natasha Margaret Purcell, Antigonish, winner of the C&A McPhee Memorial Award. Jesse Jeffrey Darrell Roby Stevens, Ottawa, Ontario. Marie Ann Randall, Barrie, Ontario. Megan Elizabeth Rankin, Mabu. Maria Nicole Rosetto, Sydney, winner of the Alan Tobin Travel Endowment Fund Award. Hannah Jean Rockwell, Ottawa, Ontario. Catherine Ann Ryan, Inverness. Samantha Bernadette Sampson, Stephenville, Newfoundland and Labrador. Julia Michelle Schaeffler, Milton, Ontario. Kaylina Christine Shu, Claremont, Florida. Karina Bridget Scott, Antigonish. Joshua John Albert Sears, Dartmouth. Alicia Nicole Siliker, Kensington, Prince Edward Island. Renee Myrtle Sims, Antigonish. Shondae Michelle Simons, Sands, Bermuda. Heidi L. Simpson, Oxford. Scott William Simpson, Canada, Ontario. Caitlin Margaret Singfield, Gatineau, Quebec. Margaret Catherine Skabar, Amherst. Jessica Ashley Smith, Mount Uniacke. Melanie Smith, Halifax. Timothy Norman Stacy, Oromocto, New Brunswick. Rebecca Patricia Stockford Lehman, Toronto, Ontario. Jordy Christopher Summers Navarre, Corner Brooks, Newfoundland and Labrador. Blake Patrick Swan, Sudbury, Ontario. Adam Robert Tate, Calgary, Alberta. Terrence J. Taylor, Las Vegas, Nevada. Matthew Alexander Teasdale, Devon, Alberta. Hannah Marie Thoreau, Halifax. Peter James Donald Topshee, Truro. Neo Janelle Upshaw, Lower Sackville. Spencer Henry Vinay, St. Thomas, Ontario. Gianna Nicole Wagner, Middle Sackville. Riley James Walker, St. Andrews, New Brunswick. Haley Nicole Wallace, Antigonish. Sarah Elizabeth Waycutt, St. Stephen, New Brunswick. Peter Andrew Donald Webster, Toronto, Ontario. Jocelyn Nicole Woodburn, Ajax, Ontario. Patrick Joseph Zeiter, LaSalle, Ontario. Emily Rachel Zupnik, Richmond Hill, Ontario. Most Reverend Chancellor, for the degree Bachelor of Arts with Major with Distinction, I present to you Megan Irene Boyle, Afton Station. Laura Nicole Butler, Petrolia, Ontario. Shu Cheng Dei, Wenzhou, China. Carrie Lynn Fortune, Marguerite Forks. Jessica Janine Rose Heron, Oakville, Ontario. Adrienne Amelia Strangeways, Kitchener, Ontario. Most Reverend Chancellor, for the degree Bachelor of Arts with Joint Major, Ashley Michelle Acker, Porters Lake. Stephanie Dawn Bax, Ottawa, Ontario, winner of the Embassy of Uruguay Book Prize. Brian Tyler Bailey Gillis, Pictou. Jocelyn Marie Baruba, Moncton, New Brunswick. Hyder Bose Jabbar, Whitehorse, Yukon Territories. Laura Elizabeth Breen, Stellarton. Zachary Neil Cameron, Thorburn. Chelsea Page Carter, Westchester. Jake Lloyd Kavanaugh, Truro. David Ross Cheney, Fredericton, New Brunswick. Jonathan Alexander Connors, Moncton, New Brunswick. Alexandria Dawn Kopp, Moncton, New Brunswick. Kristen Ashley Curry, Falmouth. Keegan Joseph Dobbelstein, Fredericton, New Brunswick. Raylene Jenna Durant, Antigonish. Emma Elizabeth Dysart, Fredericton, New Brunswick. Jennifer Marie Eisner, Conquerall Mills. Stephanie Marie Pauline Foley, Miramichi, New Brunswick. Victoria Lorraine Foster, Ottawa, Ontario. Mary Frances Jean Getty, Rousseau, Ontario. Diana Marie Hatchett, Dartmouth. Mackenzie Kristen Hepburn, Truro. Caitlin Sydney Hubley, New Glasgow. Sam Robert Hutchison, Victoria, British Columbia. Anders Wingard Johansson, Riken, Norway. Kelsey May Johnson, Middle Sackville. Haley Alicia Luft, St. John, New Brunswick. Margaret Mary Eileen McAfee, Plaster Rock, New Brunswick. Catherine Curry McDonald, Ottawa, Ontario. Joseph Donald McIntosh, St. Andrews. Angela Frances McKenzie, Orleans, Ontario. Kelsey Dawn Newell, Barrington. Jonathan David Nicholson, Bedford. Emma Christine Noonan, Moncton, New Brunswick. Ronald Olima O'Mara, Almer, Quebec. Aaron Lee Pascaletto, Calgary, Alberta. Jerome Mark Aubrey Rabia Stevens, Ottawa, Ontario. Bria Lauren Roberts, Williamsburg, Ontario. Carly Victoria Smith, Calgary, Alberta. Danielle Kelsey Lynn Smith, Stewiacke. Amy Lee Stewart, Burlington, Ontario. Angela Marie Stewart, Stellarton. Sonia Alexandra Sweet, Antigonish. Sierra Lynn Tompkins, Summerside, Prince Edward Island. Haley Patricia Vidler, Midhurst, Ontario. Rashawn Michael Weir, New Glasgow. Madison Elizabeth Ann Welsh, Vancouver, British Columbia. Sarah Adelaide Clark Wimpenny, Oshawa, Ontario. James Ian Winchester, Rothsay, New Brunswick. Kayla Ann Woodington, Antigonish. Most Reverend Chancellor, for the degree Bachelor of Arts with Joint Major with Distinction, Amy Louise Brierly, Acton, Ontario. Catherine Amelia Carberry, Saint Foy, Quebec. Ashley Nicole Marie McDonald, Sydney. Most Reverend Chancellor, for the degree Bachelor of Arts with Advanced Major, Chelsea Elizabeth Cameron, Port Hawkesbury, winner of the Father Malcolm McDonald Award. Elena Viviana Ivanovich, Etobicoke, Ontario. Lucy Janelle McDonald, Antigonish. Megan Elizabeth Manning, St. John, New Brunswick. Megan Marissa Shea, Ottawa, Ontario. Most Reverend Chancellor, for the degree Bachelor of Arts with Joint Advanced Major, Aria Christine Rose Andrighetti, Toronto, Ontario. Ryan James Ashley, Victoria, British Columbia. Georgia Derrick, Antigua and Barbuda. Most Reverend Chancellor, for the degree Bachelor of Arts with Joint Advanced Major with Distinction, Aaron George Thornell, Ottawa, Ontario, winner of the Hogan Phillips Prize. For the degree Bachelor of Arts with Honors, I present to you Samuel Gove Grouchet, Fredericton, New Brunswick. Christine Miriam Johnston, Summerside, Prince Edward Island. Jenna Terrell Marie Lane, Ottawa, Ontario. Valerie Joanne Legme, Snow Road Station, Ontario. Rachel Jane Lynch, Bowmanville, Ontario. Jalissa May Alcora Skinner, Ottawa, Ontario. Most Reverend Chancellor, for the degree Bachelor of Arts with First Class Honors, I present to you Julianne Margaret Beadle, Roberts Creek, British Columbia. Caitlin Elizabeth Bridson Pateman, Annapolis Royal. Brianna Elizabeth Margaret Cheney, Belleville, Ontario. Charlotte Almeida Curley, Tara, Ontario. Christopher David Elias Rothsay, New Brunswick. Jeffrey Ernest Fauché, Antigonish. Lucas Cody Knopp, St. John, New Brunswick, winner of the Canadian Sociological Association Award. Madison Claire Lynx, Dundas, Ontario, winner of the G.P. Brooks History of Psychology Prize. Justine Patricia Lucas, St. Joseph's, Des Moines. Jocelyn Marie McDonald, Guysborough, winner of the Reverend Frank J. Mifflin Prize and the St. Francis Xavier Association University Teachers Book Prize. Angelina Sarah McClellan, Cornwall, Prince Edward Island. Bria Claire Newcomb, Falmouth. Marianne Nicole Peters, Antigonish, winner of the Department of English Senior Honors Thesis Prize. Mark James Risebrough, Calgary, Alberta. Harlan Dwayne Steele, Antigonish, winner of the Walter Contact Prize. Colton Brian Thompson, Oxford. Most Reverend Chancellor, for the degree Bachelor of Arts with Honours with Subsidiary, Megan Shirley Ferguson, Almere, Ontario, winner of the Angus L. MacDonald Memorial Scholarship. Kathleen Taylor Forward, Burlington, Ontario, winner of the Graduating Anthropology Student Award. Emily Ann Winifred McGregor, Dartmouth. Hilary Shirley Perry, Upper Covedale, New Brunswick, Coverdale. Caitlin Brooke Pierce, Sugar Camp. Carly Noel Smith, Belleville, Ontario. Most Reverend Chancellor, for the degree Bachelor of Arts with First Class Honours with Subsidiary, I present to you Justin John Baird, New Glasgow, winner of the Jules Leger Undergraduate Scholarship in the Humanities. Brianna Marie Boyle, Antigonish, winner of the Jules Leger Undergraduate Scholarship in the Social Sciences. Rachel Erin Burton, Moncton, New Brunswick, winner of the Margaret McGilvery McDougall Prize and the Reverend R.J. McSween Prize. Laura Jane Corbett, Unionville, Ontario, winner of the Dr. D.J. MacDonald and Dr. A.B. MacDonald Memorial Prize. Hannah Imogen Davison, Nelson, British Columbia, winner of the Reverend Frank J. Mifflin Prize. Rachel Margaret Garbury, Antigonish, winner of the Women's and Gender Studies Prize and the St. Francis Association of University Teachers Book Prize. Brianna Kate Graham, Canning, winner of the Dr. Marguerite Michaud Prize. Ryan John Langevin, Ottawa, Ontario, winner of the Father Charles R. MacDonald Memorial Medal. Rochelle Ursula Lavangi, Frankville. Megan Ashley Livingston, Pictou, winner of the Graduating Anthropology Student Award. Shayna Diane McFarlane, Antigonish, winner of the Dr. John B. Stewart Scholarship. Elizabeth Eileen McIsaac, New Glasgow, winner of the Dr. Annette Ahern Memorial Essay Prize and the John and Mary Fraser Memorial Prize. Rory Keith Leverett McLeod, Ottawa, Ontario. Audrey Michaud, Bathurst, New Brunswick, winner of the Service Learning Prize. Amanda Leanne Thomas, Florenceville, Bristol, New Brunswick, winner of the Hogan Phillips Prize and the Reverend A.A. Johnston History Award. Most Reverend Chancellor, for the degree Bachelor of Arts in Music, Jazz Studies, I present to you Christian Martinez Raymakers, Truro. For the degree Bachelor of Arts in Music, Jazz Studies with First Class Honors, I present to you Adam Nicholas Cito, Dartmouth. For the degree Bachelor of Music, Jazz Studies with First Class Honors, I present to you Ronald Alexander Lank, New Glasgow. Tyler Jordan Martin, Clifford, Ontario. James Michael Shaw, Valley. Kyler James Tully, Valley. Samantha Josephine Wilson, Windsor, Ontario. And for the degree Diploma in Jazz Studies, Samuel Lee Sipos Maitland.
Dr. Tim Hines, Dean of Business, will present to the Chancellor candidates for degrees in Business Administration and Information Systems.
Most Reverend Chancellor, for the degree Bachelor of Business Administration, I present to you Christopher Stephen Abraham, Hamilton, Bermuda. Robert Lloyd Allen, Truro. Grace Elizabeth Anderson, New Glasgow. Samuel James Babcock, Calgary, Alberta. Jacob Andrew Baker, Windsor. Jordan Francis Bastarash, Irishtown, New Brunswick. Laura Megan Boyd, Antigonish. Travis William Thomas Braschuk, Winnipeg, Manitoba. Devin Karen Burrows, Antigonish. William Thomas Bursey, St. John, New Brunswick. Scott Timothy Cameron, Antigonish. Victoria Mary Cameron, Grand River. Angus Anthony Campbell, Halifax. Sarah Ann Carter, Amherst. Leah Ann Chisholm, Antigonish. Hannah Elizabeth Clark, Aurelia, Ontario. Darren Kelly Clemens, Fort Erie, Ontario. Alfredo Leonard Cornish, Abaco, Bahamas. Harrison Peter Corrales, Toronto, Ontario. Shane David Coupland, Brisbane, Australia. Alistair Covey, St. Stephen, New Brunswick. Joshua Scott Critch, Riverview, New Brunswick. Xiao Du, Changzhou, China. Brittany Margaret Ellum, Calgary, Alberta. Heather Pauline Ellis, Summerside, Prince Edward Island. Brett Arthur Feeney, Port Williams. Demetrius Walter Alexander Ferguson, Bahamas. Emily Doreen Foster, Birmingham, England. Gavin Neil Francisco, Toronto, Ontario. Caitlin Sarah Friars, Port Williams. Alexandria Sydney Furlot, Bathurst, New Brunswick. Sen Ji, Changzhou, China. Patrick Bernard Hale, Sydenham, Ontario. Dustin Hawk Hall, Fredericton, New Brunswick. Mark Robert Harper, Calgary, Alberta. Brendan Michael Hobbolt, Kingston. Ryan Jordan Hillier, North Sydney. Graham Charles Hodgkinson, Calgary, Alberta. Keegan James Jewell, Maple Ridge, British Columbia. Jennifer Ann Kerr, Musquodoboit. Michael John Hugh Kirkpatrick, North Sydney. Ryan Nathan Koo, Toronto, Ontario. Ashley Lynette Kaniski, Halifax. Craig Landers, Halifax. Spencer George Landry, Bridgewater. Kathleen Giselle LaRue, Midhurst, Ontario. Justin Peter Lebens, Dartmouth. Jordan Daniel Letcher, Amherst. Liam James McDonald, Dartmouth. Monica Claire McDonald, Antigonish. Daniel Paul McGilvery, Antigonish. Robin Nicole McInnes, Antigonish. Brandon David McKenzie, Truro. Logan Alexander McNeil, Bible Hill. David Michael McPherson, Antigonish. Sanjay Kumar Makar, Truro. Ryan Leslie Antonio McDonald, Cornwall, Ontario. Donald Joseph McInnes, Trenton. Matthew Paul McIntyre, Bridgewater. Erin Elizabeth McKenna, Albert Bridge. James Carl McMaster, Fall River. Robert William McMillan, Midhurst, Ontario. Brett David Melnick, Moncton, New Brunswick. Charlotte Morgan Menzies, Magog, Quebec. Jenna Elizabeth Muller, Calgary, Alberta. Mike Nazarian, Halifax. Brendan Wesley Nichols, Calgary, Alberta. Gabrielle Pierre O'Connor, Beloil, Quebec. McLean Robert Patterson, Bedford. Emily Elizabeth Pelly, Corner Brook, Newfoundland and Labrador. Cecilia Ann Penny, St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. Rory Eileen Pritchard, Ottawa, Ontario. Dylan Hunter Roth, Oakville, Ontario. Trevor Allen Arthur Sampson, Centerville. Matthew Reginald Soller, Conqueror Bank, Nova Scotia. Dylan James Scammell, Greenfield. Blake Timothy Scott, Carp, Ontario. Elijah Machio Hines Simmons, Truro. Bradley Darrell Snow, Pictou. Donald Alexander Tabor, Dartmouth. Bryden Kenny Tate, Heatherton. Emma Gabrielle Taylor. Emma Taylor is in Calgary this weekend, attending the BLG Awards Gala as a finalist for the CIS Female Athlete of the Year. She will be receiving her degree in Calgary today. Celeste Emily Tremblay, Dartmouth. Corey Alexander Vandenhovel, Waikagama. Fraser John White, Truro. Xing Kit Wong, Hong Kong. Ningchen Chong, Changzhou, China. Jingwei Zhou, Changzhou, China. Most Reverend Chancellor, for the degree Bachelor of Business Administration with distinction, I present Shane Alexander McIntosh, Antigonish. Most Reverend Chancellor, for the degree Bachelor of Business Administration with major, I present to you Emmanuel Ian-Oluwa Adeniyi, Fredericton, New Brunswick. Stephen Cameron Allen, North Sydney. Virginia Sharon Anderson, Antigonish. Michael Compton Baker, Calgary. Stuart Lee Barkley, Antigonish. Emily Vera Roseanne Hattie Benson, Quispamsis, New Brunswick. Joshua Sand Bodoni, Ottawa, and recipient of the Ambassador of Switzerland Book Prize. Stuart Richard Boswell, Calgary, Alberta. Bryden Alexander Boudelier, Antigonish. Lindsay Joanne Bowie, Antigonish. Brittany Susan Bremner, Dartmouth. William John Burdett, Toronto, Ontario. Tess Evangeline Campbell, Waikagama. Emma Ruth Carter, Mount Stewart, Prince Edward Island. Dean Leonard Casey, Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. Jordan John Catterall, Oakville, Ontario. Daniel Andrew Christie, Ottawa, Ontario. Colin Tulkins Delory, Heatherton. Adam Emerson Dunphy, Antigonish. Emma Ray Ferguson, St. Peter's. Aaron Morgan Ford, Lower Sackville. Brendan James Edwin Graham, Orleans, Ontario. Catherine Ann Harland, Calgary, Alberta. Emma Elizabeth Harlow, Conqueror Bank. Colin Hurley Haynes, Calgary, Alberta. Richard David Leslie Howe, Stittsville, Ontario. Rebecca Elizabeth Hughes, Burlington, Ontario. Caitlin Jane Jenkins, Ottawa, Ontario. Jeremy Timothy John Kelly, Quispamsis, New Brunswick. Jason Anthony Curry, Fredericton, New Brunswick. Rhea Michelle Koivu, Dartmouth. Rebecca Marjorie McLeod, Truro. Chad Robert McMillan, Kingston. Michael Joseph Cody McNaughton, Westville. Marissa Alexandra McNeil, Port Hood. Jia Yin Mu, Pedaling Jia, Malaysia. Lauren Blanche Murray, Stratford, Prince Edward Island. Bilha Mutoni Indomo, Nairobi, Kenya. Molly Ann Norris, Wainwright, Alberta. Kenachakwu Francis Ogwejiofor, Antigonish. Thomas Omachinsky, Calgary, Alberta. Spencer Alexis Orcutt, Montreal, Quebec, recipient of the Employer's Choice Award. Nicholas Pagan, Ottawa, Ontario. Colby Lee Parker, Shubenacadie. Bailey Catherine Penny, Halifax. Michael James Pierce, Woodstock, New Brunswick. Elizabeth Mary Rideout, St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. John Alexander Ross, Calgary, Alberta. Shauna Ann Sophia Sampson, Lordway. Kathleen Bridget Sheridan, Ottawa, Ontario. John Nicholas Spiro Siriopoulos, Toronto, Ontario. Edward James Stevens, Whitehorse. Jean-Claude Martin Sullivan, Calgary, Alberta. Sarah Elizabeth Thompson, Riverview, New Brunswick. Sawyer Campbell Troback Smith, New Germany. Erin Catherine Upton, Ottawa, Ontario. Stephen Daniel Walker, Mount Uniacke. Tao Yu Wang, Beijing, China. Shane Bradley Whitman, Eastern Passage. Most Reverend Chancellor, for the degree Bachelor of Business Administration with major, with distinction, I present Robin Anne Marie Barnable, Corner Brook, Newfoundland and Labrador. Scott Brian Duggan, Westville. Adam Kevin Dumaresque, Quispamsis, New Brunswick. Jane Eleanor Fraser, Mirigumish. Madison Marie Gaudette, Janvins Island. Matthew Stephen Hare, Richmond Hill, Ontario. Alana Joy Higgins, Halifax. Anne Louise Garvey Kelly, Calgary, Alberta. Taylor Ray Klein, Waverley. Zachary Bryson Konings, Ridgeway, Ontario. Ryan Jonathan Maloney, Gander, Newfoundland and Labrador. Jillian Marie Marchand, Antigonish. Julie Kristen Parker, Moncton, New Brunswick. Emily Ann Payne, Port Williams. Abby Elizabeth Shaw, New Glasgow. Rebecca Danielle Waterhouse, Ottawa, Ontario. Madison Cheyenne White, Beaverbank. Cassandra Lynn Will, Calgary, Alberta. Most Reverend Chancellor, for the degree Bachelor of Business Administration with honors, I present Colby Robert Gibbons, Stillwater Lake. Xian Leon, Nanning Ji, China. Matthew Blair McLaughlin, Westville. Ray Chin Yan, Beijing, China. Most Reverend Chancellor, for the degree Bachelor of Business Administration with first-class honors, I present Austin Alexander Carter, Ottawa, Ontario. Ashley Julaine Clark, Oakville, Ontario. William Archibald Forsey, Kippens, Newfoundland, Labrador. Stephanie Leah Gimblett, Perth Andover, New Brunswick. Melissa Marie Gottschall, Antigonish. Graham Paul Haynes, Sussex, New Brunswick. Anne Megan Kells, Bedford. Danshi Liu, Stratford, Prince Edward Island. Nikki Georgette Mills, Indian Harbor Lake. Ashley Elizabeth Pettipaw, Antigonish. Justine Ann Rancy, Antigonish, and recipient of the Argentinian Consulate of Montreal Prize. Binghan Zheng, Changzhou, China. Most Reverend Chancellor, for the degree Bachelor of Business Administration with joint honors, I present Mark Thomas Wixon, Belleville, Ontario. Most Reverend Chancellor, for the degree Bachelor of Business Administration with joint first-class honors, I present Javier Marco Belave Macaya, Madrid, Spain. Matthew Thompson Del Bel Belluz, New Glasgow. Most Reverend Chancellor, for the degree Bachelor of Information Systems, I present Clayton Gordon Blagden, Mulgrave, Nova Scotia. Shuping Ding, Changzhou, China. Jordan David Murray, Summerside, Prince Edward Island. Charles Bernard Range, Ottawa, Ontario. Most Reverend Chancellor, for the degree Bachelor of Information Systems with distinction, Jordan Gilbert Perry, Ottawa, Ontario. Most Reverend Chancellor, for the degree Bachelor of Information Systems with major, Ryan Thomas Fortune, Cold Harbor. Liam Kane, Montreal, Quebec. Wenji Yu, Changzhou, China. And last but not least, Most Reverend Chancellor, for the Bachelor of Information Systems with first-class honors, I present Xiao Qin, Changzhou, China.
The Chancellor, Most Reverend Brian Dunn, will confer the degrees and diplomas given.
By the authority vested in me as Chancellor of the University and in accordance with the recommendation of its academic faculties, I hereby admit you to the degrees and diplomas to which you have qualified with all the rights, honors, and privileges thereunto appertaining.
Most Reverend Chancellor, on behalf of the graduating class, Mr. Graham Nodar McLean will address Convocation.
Hello, welcome to each and every one of you from wherever you came here. Thank you so much for sharing in this beautiful day with all of us. We are so grateful. Before I begin, I'd like to take one last opportunity to thank the Xaverian community for their tremendous commitment to our graduating class. I'd like to ask that all faculty and staff present stand one last time and be acknowledged because we are so grateful for you. Thank you so, so much. Overthinking about today has led me to conclude that defining StFX is kind of like trying to bite your own teeth. So naturally, my feelings toward this bittersweet day change more than the weather here does. One thing, however, remains constant. Whether graduation is just another step in your particular academic quest, or whether it's the final enthusiastic punctuation to your scholarly career, when we sift the meaning out of today, we are left with something nothing short of incredible. After all, being here in this capacity today means we have all been in training for the real world. We've been candidates, living for what is going to validate us next. Titles, jobs, resume length, and of course, university diplomas. All in all, we've spent enormous amounts of money, effort, and years of our lives to earn this culturally coveted piece of paper. And I can't help but feel that it's all a hoax. Because as any of our brilliant music or jazz graduates would tell you, the end of the piece is not the point. Otherwise, the best musicians would be those who play fastest. The point is remembering that we're supposed to dance and sing along the way. As our fellow human being, Shadrach Cabango, says, life isn't a race to win, it's a run to finish. So the real prize we've earned today, now that we've finished this run hand in hand, is the opportunity to celebrate it with the people who ran alongside of us, and of course with the institution that made it all possible. And now that this journey is over, it's hard to remember how we made it through, how we managed to survive. We can't even be sure, in fact, whether the journey is truly over. The one thing that is certain is that the you who sits in that chair right now is vastly different from the you who sat here 4 years ago. But after all, that's what the journey is all about. Think of it this way. We could all lose these beautiful rings tonight or wake up to find these degrees torn in half. But the web of memories that we've woven together over these past X amount of years will literally survive the burdens of time, distance, and life itself. You don't need this external validation to certify that you're brilliant or that the people in this room love you because you've known that your whole life. If anything, the Xaverian experience has been a sparkling reminder of the boundary-dissolving powers of a unified group of like-minded people. So, in conclusion, celebrate this day, revere the rare company that we join, and congratulate your classmates and, of course, yourself. It's also important to note that this mixture of intelligence, virtue, versatility, and pizza from the wheel plus sex appeal will never again be together like this. Appreciate the co-authors of this wonderful chapter while you still have the chance to. It's a chapter I look forward to rereading over and over. And some decades down the road, when the scent of you has vanished from my clothing, when the ring no longer fits and dust blankets this new diploma, I have no doubt that the impressions we have all left on each other will endure, eternal and ineffable. I am so humbled to be a part of you. You all live in my heart rent-free. And if I may be so bold as to conclude my conclusion with some advice, life is so fleeting and so temporary that if you spend one waking moment not living your dream, you risk wasting this beautiful thing that we are all an expression of. So follow your bliss, graduates. Dare to be wise, and most importantly, and ultimately all that matters, do not forget to bring love with you wherever you go. Congratulations to the St. Francis Xavier University graduating class of 2015. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Graham. I now call upon the Vice President of the StFX Alumni Association, Mr. Glenn Horn.
First, I want to congratulate you all on surviving those stairs. Some more successful than others, but all equally graceful. Good afternoon, Most Reverend Chancellor, Dr. MacDonald, Right Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Saïd, Dr. MacDonald, distinguished guests, family, friends, and of course you, the class of 2015. On behalf of the Alumni Association, it's my absolute pleasure to congratulate each and every one of you on your academic achievement and welcome you all into one of the world's most established and connected university alumni networks. We're delighted to have you on board, and just in case you were wondering or worried, your admission is prepaid. Alumni of all people know what's required for you to complete your degree and what you've become because of your experience here at StFX. The fine print in your degree would describe your thirst for learning and the many facets of your character, a list of your accomplishments as well as your contributions to this community, your communities at home, and communities beyond. Before your proud parents take your degrees and frame it and hang it on their walls, be sure to capture a photo of you and your degree and post this milestone on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or whatever social network you might be enjoying. Be sure to also send a copy to that person who inspired you along the way, but couldn't make it here to today's convocation. Maybe it was a grandparent, a former teacher, or a StFX alumnus in your neighborhood. Let the world know that a new class of Xaverians is about to make their move. As alumni, we want to strongly encourage you to reach out in any way possible. If you're looking to reconnect with friends, refuel your X-spirit, searching for a new learning opportunity, job opportunity, please get in touch with your local alumni chapter, the alumni office on campus, or stop and ask a complete stranger wearing an X-ring. They're always quite helpful. We're eager to support you in your journey from here in any way we can. I'd also like to extend that offer in achieving Dr. MacDonald's final assignment to you all. Don't take that as a challenge onto yourself, because as you know, Xaverians, we act strongest when we're together. So a call on us to help you with that as well. So as a final message from the Alumni Association, I encourage you all to go out, be brave, and do great things. Once again, congratulations on a job well done.
The Chancellor of the University, Most Reverend Brian Dunn, will close convocation and offer the benediction.
Special guests, graduates, and all who are connected with St. Francis Xavier University. First of all, congratulations to the graduates of 2015. Congratulations as well to those who have received honorary recognition for your service to the larger community, especially Dr. Wafic Saïd, and this morning, Dr. Sister Veronica Matthews and Tom Rankin. Today marks a milestone in your lives as graduating students, in the lives of your families and loved ones who supported you at StFX, and for the StFX faculty and staff and administration who were all part of your StFX experience. Today you are recognized for your academic achievement, and it is indeed an achievement which in turn extends gratitude and thanksgiving for all who have walked this journey with you. Today, your personal journey takes on new dimensions. You become part of the StFX alumni family, we've just heard about. Externally, we all watch you make the choices and pursue adventures that are yet to be known. And yet the core of who you are, the essence of your being, the internal you, is truly a gift from God for the betterment of the world. This is the interior journey that you will take after StFX. Let me give you an example. Last evening at the Xaverian Farewell Mass, we heard that everyone is invited and indeed called to develop and nurture their God-given talents so that their joy may be complete. Your time at StFX will create a path for others to follow and will include dedicating time for ongoing personal journey, an interior personal journey that only you can choose to acknowledge and develop. It will also involve using what you then discover in charity, in faith, and in love. We see examples of StFX alumni such as Kathleen Fleming, Father Moses Cody, Father Jimmy Tompkins. These are people who dedicated their core of their being for the betterment of others. We see examples of this in the faculty and staff who provide care and concern for you from the core of their being, and did so in many different ways that only you are aware. We see examples of this when we hear of service learning projects, such as time spent in Haiti and Rwanda, and even with the homeless in Halifax. The core and essence of StFX is dedicated to what is essential to you as a true gift of God. StFX is committed to your interior development, helping you to develop your gifts that will make the world a better place. Finally, you've been told that the world is open to you and that anything is possible. My wish for you is that you will also know that joy is possible. Happiness, of course, but joy, which is a different experience. It is a gift that combines love and peace and serenity. We believe this joy is a true gift to your interior self, the self that only you can nurture and love and grow. It is the true self that continues to show gratitude, to seek peace and mercy, and to develop and share. These will be your gifts to the world of tomorrow. As a graduating class of 2015, you are embarking on paths that will move you geographically, emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually. As Chancellor of St. Francis Xavier University and as Bishop of the Diocese of Antigonish, my wish for you is to continue to pursue the paths written in the scripture writings of St. Paul and of the motto of this university, the paths of whatsoever things are true, noble, just, honest, pure, and lovely. May these accomplishments of St. Francis Xavier University continue to form you as you face the opportunities that will present themselves in your lives. Let us pray. Generous God, you are the source of all gifts. You inspire every good work, and through you we are given the strength and guidance to complete every task. In your wisdom and love, you surround us with the mysteries of the universe, and you give us all that we need to discover these mysteries. You continually send people into our lives to assist us to discover your truth and to help us appreciate our relationship with you and with one another. Send your Spirit upon this year's graduates of St. Francis Xavier University. Fill them with your wisdom and blessing. May they reach out to others as they care for all creation and seek the reconciliation of all people in the midst of ever-growing diversity. Help them appreciate the dignity of each person as they seek to find the way to live together as one human family. Give them gratitude for all who have supported them. Give them a delight for all they have learned. Give them a desire to share their knowledge with gentle patience. Give them the courage to endeavor to bring the truth to eager minds. We ask this blessing through our loving and merciful God, who shows us the way and the truth and the life forever and ever. I now proclaim the closure of this convocation of St. Francis Xavier University.
Members of the audience are asked to remain in their places until the academic procession has left the hall. The platform party will leave first, followed by the faculty and then the graduates. The graduates will move directly outdoors and move well away from the main entrance of the Keating Center. Thereafter, guests are asked to leave the hall as promptly as possible so that the hall may be prepared for this evening's gala. Once again, thank you, parents, families, and friends for joining us, and a special thank you and congratulations to all of the new StFX graduates.
Thank you.